Hello friends, we are going to learn what are the steps required for the installation of Redis Cache server on your machine. Now there are multiple steps are provided in the next slides. Let's try to see to follow the installation of Redis Cache server on your machine. Okay, before going to see the steps, let's try to understand. There are 3 points I mentioned here in the Redis Cache. One is Redis is an open source in-memory data structure store used as a database. Point number one. Point number two, it is used to store the frequently used static data inside the cache. Point number three, there are many data structures present in the Redis to store the data. I have mentioned 3 points because we are going to use Redis Cache server as a database. We are storing the data in this database. Third one is to store the data in the database, we need to use data structure like key value pair. With the help of key value pair, we are going to use the Redis cache server for storing the data and to retrieve the data from the cache. That is the reason I specifically mentioned 3 points. So Redis is an open source in-memory data structure store. Now let's see the steps how we are going to install Redis cache server on your machine. There is a URL provided for the download of Redis cache server zip folder. Now, as it is highlighted here, there is a zip folder which contains Redis Cache server. When you unzip this Redis Cache server zip folder, you can find multiple exe files in this folder. One of the important exe file is redis-server.exe. This is used to run the server. We have seen in the previous slide, we are using Redis Cache server as a database. So we need to run the server. That's the reason redis-server.exe is used to run your server. Let's click on that to run the server. When you click on that exe, you can see this environment in this format. There is another exe redis-cli which is available for interacting with the server. This is a command line interface where we are going to use to interact with the server. To see whether the server is running or not, we are going to ping the server. In the next slide, we can see ping command. Enter the ping command in the command line interface and press enter. When you press enter, you can see Pong response. That means server is alive. It is ready to accept the commands from the user. Now our first action is done. We have created a server and server is active. Now the next step is we need to store the data in the database. I mean to say Redis cache. So to store, we need to create a key. With the help of a key, we are tagging the value. To create a key, we have a command called set key and the value which you want to store in the cache. To retrieve the data from the cache, we have a command called get and the key. So get key is going to help to retrieve the data from the cache. That's it. There are 3 steps which we need to follow whenever you want to install your Redis cache server on your machine. One is set up the server, verify the server is active or not with the help of ping command. Third one is use the set key to store the value in the cache or to retrieve the data from the cache, get key. These are the 3 steps which we required to store the data in the Redis cache server. Now let's try to see how we can download the zip folder from the provided URL. Let's try to copy and paste the URL. I paste it here. Click enter. I will be able to see the screen where I can download the zip folder. Click on the zip folder. Now it is going to download the zip folder in my local. I'll go and see that downloads. Right click, extract here, extract all. It is going to extract into my local. Now I can see 2 different exes. As I told you, Redis-server is the server which is going to act as a database to store the static data into the Redis cache. So double click on that. It is going to run that server. Now your server is active. We need to test whether server is active or not. For that one, let's go to the again redis-cli command line interface. Double click on that. Now we can see a command line interface where we are going to enter ping command. Ping. It is giving a response called pong, which means to say server is active. Now your Redis cache server is active and it is ready to store any type of data into the cache. Now the next step is we need to create a key where we are going to use to store the data in the cache. For creating a key, type set key1 key123. I'm going to give the key value for storing in cache. This is a dummy data. Press enter. Now I have created a key and set the value. I want to see whether that value is retrieved from the database or not. Get key 123. Enter. Now I can see the data which is storing in the Redis cache is going to retrieve and showing here. So these are 3 steps are required if you want to use the Redis cache server. One is install the server, test the server by using ping command. Now the server is active, it is responding. Now use the Redis cache for storing anything. Now use set key for storing the data, and to retrieve the data from the cache use get key. With help of these things we are going to use Redis cache successfully. If you want to test it programmatically Redis cache, so create any .NET Core application or .NET Core Web API to store the data from the API into the cache.